Hello, Global Theater. My name is Jerry Fialka. Today is March 9, 2022. We want to thank Rob Grant and his amazing podcast channel called I'm Probably Wrong About Everything. Rob, feel free to jump in later or in between changing diapers. We love you. Thank you so much for your help, Rob.
When I get the chance, I'm there. Have fun.
All right.
Why do you need diapers?
Because he
2-year-old. I have a 2-year-old. Yeah. But we were just talking about gut health before, so there you go.
We were just talking about super gut and the stomach. We all might need diapers someday. So it is an honor and a pleasure to be here with Laurie Rosenwald. Is that the correct way to pronounce it?
It is.
Laurie, where are you calling in from?
I'm in Palm Springs, California right now.
Oh, how cool is that? How cool is that?
I live in New York. I'm not really here, but I am here now.
I'm in Venice, so we're both in the same state. And
Indeed.
So, Laurie, the first question is, what is the best thing for a human being?
The best thing? The best thing for a human being? You mean besides like not being dead?
Not being dead is a great answer, but and let me just set it up. All these questions, you put them into the context you want. One guy said the best thing for a human being is pizza. Another person said best thing for a human being is a hug. It's whatever you want to, whatever context you want to put it in.
Well, I'm one of the no hugging, no learning, and I'm rather ambivalent about pizza. So I'm going to stick with being above ground.
Not being dead is a great, legitimate answer. Laurie, what is your favorite form of information? How it comes into you?
Talking to people in real life.
Oh, I love that. We call it direct experience. Why do you think humans?
Why do you call it direct experience instead?
Well, it's just it's one. Life? I like this. You know how to have a conversation. This is fun. So I think it's just it's called phatic communication. Like if you say something and then I say something back, we're like playing ping pong, and that's what you what you said in specific words. I was just sort of re-saying in another term that's sort of a cliche. But Marshall McLuhan said a great thing: turn a cliche into an archetype. So direct conversation
to me is a joke.
It is a joke.
Because I've never really been sure what an archetype is, and I don't want you to tell me. It's those kind of, to me, talking to people in real life is the way that I like to communicate. And what you called direct experience sounds very academic to me. And I would never use a phrase like that. Because direct experience could be anything. It could be looking at a chair is a direct experience, right? So talking to people is very specific, and that's what I mean. And so direct experience to me could be almost anything.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I like it. I call it also, maybe this is verbal exchange and eye contact. That's one of my favorite ways to get information.
I call this a glass of water.
I'll drink.
But I'm sure you have a better way of saying it.
No, I'm not. No,
I know. Aquatic experience.
No.
I'm having an aqua experience.
That's the other thing, because there's some of these things I say, do you like this more or this more? And it's like, I know it's both and it depends. So again, it's like the context you want to put in is just like sort of jumping off points. But why do you think humans collect or gather information?
Why do we do it? Well, why not? I mean, curiosity, I suppose, or I'm curious about something. Do you have a set number of questions? Do you ask lots of different kinds of people the same questions, or do you revise it every time? I know when I started for a very brief period, I had the unfortunate experience of doing stand-up comedy. I wasn't just aspiring, I really did it. And it was eye-opening. And well, that's kind of why I'm asking you.
Yeah, it is. It's a combination of both. But yes, there's a script. I'm reading them off, but I am continually talking about the questions themselves and skipping the order.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The reason I ask is because when I did stand up, I was so naive, or it just didn't occur to me. Because in lots of ways, I think I'm very bright and smart, and then in other ways, I think I'm incredibly stupid. For instance, I would every time I performed on stage, which sometimes were just days apart or even on the same day, I would never repeat myself even a little bit. I had to do completely new material every time I stood up there, and it took me hours. And I realized much later that it was because I really enjoyed writing and coming up with the material. And of course, they were totally different audiences. I could have told the same stories. I didn't really tell jokes, but I could have used the same material over and over. But I didn't even do it once, and I was exhausted. But frankly, that's probably made me a better writer. But I didn't realize that I could. It didn't occur to me to do the same things.
Yeah, it's a really good point. My wife is a pro jazz singer. She sang Carnegie Hall, and she used to practice the raps between each song. Like, I'm going to say this. Then she'd go to the club and not say the rap she practiced at all. So it's like the more you practice, the luckier you get. Is sometimes.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah. So it's like you're going through that ritual. It's like I take 5-6 pages of notes on every interview. People go, "Do you read those?" And I goes, "Well, no, it's the act of writing it down that, you've talked about that in your lectures. Like, no, don't abandon the pencil. Use the digital pencil and the old pencil. That's,
Exactly.
yeah,
Both are good.
both. And so is this need or want to collect information more innate in humans or more invented?
That's the kind of thing, I'm not into this existential stuff. Like,
Okay.
but no, really, I'm not. I mean,
That's all right.
like my mother, I remember she told me once that she had this big existential crisis because she was thinking, where does thought come from? Stuff like that, where does it originate? And that's just exactly the kind of thing that I never think about, but people like her and maybe people like you do. But I'm not. I'm very normal, and I don't or no boring or down to earth. I'm not spiritual, and I'm not really examining why we think or why we do the things we do as much as somebody like you, you're fascinated by those questions.
Right.
I'm just
No.
not. I'm like,
No.
I don't know the answer, and I'm not ashamed to say it, and I also don't care.
Right. That's important to say. I don't know. I don't care. Pass is all legit.
Yeah.
So
I think
let's
about all kinds of stuff, but not
right.
that.
Yeah, no, but there's a couple at the beginning. We'll get into that I set it up that are more philosophical, and then we'll get into your background and your
Okay.
your
Okay. But I'm going to flunk the philosophy
no,
101.
it's not flunking. It's
No,
totally
I know. I know.
yeah, okay. Yeah.
But
Okay.
no. I'm gonna take that as elective and then not show up.
That's totally fine. I don't know what I think until I fill in the blank.
Oh, I don't know what I think until I draw.
Perfect. See, you got it. Can humans think without language?
Probably, but I don't remember, like when I was pre-verbal, when you're, infant, of course they're thinking.
Great.
Animals are
See?
thinking,
You're
and most of them don't have much language.
right.
Sure.
That's fine. Now, Chomsky says that a language is not just words, it's a culture, a tradition, a unification of community, a whole history that creates what a community is. Laurie, what do you do when language breaks down, when language doesn't work?
Can I tell you a story instead of
Please.
properly? it just reminded me of a story that was in a book. I did another book a long time ago, more than 10 years ago, called All the Wrong People Have Self-Esteem. And in it, there's a story about my friend Mike, who actually I'm going to see soon. I haven't seen him in years, but he's an illustrator, and he's originally Hungarian. And I heard this, it was an apocryphal story, that he'd gone on a, he himself didn't tell me the story. I heard it about him, that he went to Hungary on like a roots kind of trip, you know, to see the old country. And there were many members of his family that he'd never met or hadn't seen since he was a baby or whatever. And they had this big party for him outdoors. It was a very beautiful setting. And but he didn't speak the language, right? And Hungary, they really don't speak so much English. And this was at least 20, 30 years ago. I think 30 years ago. And they don't speak English. So, but one cousin did, but everybody else didn't. And so they kept pressing more food on him. It was all about the food. And he, you know, he just couldn't manage it anymore. And he's a very skinny guy, and you want to be polite. So he's just smiling, you know, when you don't speak the language, you smile a lot and, oh, thank you, you know, but you want to have the right kind of expression of gratitude. And then, but then he just, you know, they kept pressing more and more food. So he just couldn't take it. So he just said, I'm sorry, this is so great. And you're lovely, but you know, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. And he pats his stomach. And the entire table is like, horrified. And the cousin is laughing and like falling on the ground laughing. And Michael says, what, why is everybody looking at, what's the matter? What did I say? And he said, the cousin says, I don't know why, but you just patted your stomach and said, vagina, vagina, vagina. And I heard this story, and much, much later, I put it in the book. Then I saw Michael, and I told him this, and he said, that's ridiculous, that story. He said, that never happened. He said, I have gone back to Hungary several times. Not only that, but I speak fluent Hungarian. I grew up speaking Hungarian. Where did you hear this story? And I said, I don't remember, but I love the story, and it has nothing to do with anything, but it does connect to your original question of what do you do when words fail you? Vagina, vagina, vagina.
I almost thought you were going to say when you
there's even more. Wait.
Okay, go ahead.
I asked him, of course, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, what does that mean? He said, it doesn't mean anything. And I said, well, how do you say vagina in Hungarian? He said, vagina.
Well, I thought
the story is completely wrong.
Yeah.
Every possible way.
That's Rashomon. I mean, everybody perceives things.
Not the Rashomon I remember.
You are. So I thought you might have possibly going to say when he hit his stomach, that means he wants more food. Like,
oh no,
I need more food.
Worse than that.
Your observations of humans in general, are we more thinking beings or more feeling beings?
Oh, thinking.
Wow. See, this is amazing because, well, 90% of people say we're feeling beings.
They're wrong.
Well, you know, one of my favorites is Bridget Bardot. She goes, when I make love, I don't think. I'm like, good luck. How can you? It's like meditating. They goes, don't think about thinking, you know.
Oh, I can't do that. I've tried meditating like twice because of Jerry Seinfeld, because he does it and he swears by it. And only for that reason I tried it. But you just end up thinking.
Right.
Imagine not thinking. And I couldn't do it. I could not do it. And I also don't want to do it now, but yeah, I thought it would be a good idea because of him.
Yeah. No, this is good. These are two questions from Alan Turing in 1950. Is thinking a function of the soul?
That's one question.
Yeah. That's
the first one.
That's the first one. Yeah.
Okay. No, I think it comes from the brain, doesn't it? Which is sort of a cauliflower type of piece of meat in your head. Yeah.
Good. The second one is, can machines think?
Not the way we do, but yes, they think in a
Yeah.
machiney way,
In
right?
a machiny way. I love you're a colorful, blendo is another
Well,
word
no,
you got.
no, no. Yeah, exactly. That's a good
I
word.
love
But don't you think that, can people add? Yes.
yes.
And maybe when they add 2 and 2, they're doing it in a different way than a machine does it, but they're both doing the same thing and it'll get the same answer.
Yeah.
But I can't really explain, the difference, but we know there
Yeah.
is a difference.
Yeah. Do you more pursue happiness or more pursue meaning?
I don't pursue anything.
Good.
I have a friend, Brenda, and she's now 104. She'll be 105 in July. And this was like right in the beginning of COVID. And I had this conversation with her out in her garden. And she lives in Pennsylvania, but she's Irish anyway. So we were talking about her son-in-law, who posts a lot of stuff on Facebook all the time about very heady kind of spiritual things. He's very sort of serious, thoughtful, spiritual kind of guy, and we were talking about him, and I was kind of saying I thought it was kind of corny or I don't know what, but anyway, she said, "Well, he's a seeker. He's looking for something."
Yeah.
I said, "Uh-huh," and then she said, "I'm not looking for anything." And then I looked at her and I said, "Well, it's a good thing too, Brenda, because if at 102, if you haven't found it by now, it doesn't look like you're ever going to." So I'm like that. I'm not looking for anything and I'm not pursuing anything. I don't know if that's even the right word.
No,
I mean,
that's
I wake
beautiful.
up every day. I haven't, it's not like I have a big goal or anything. I never
Yeah.
have had.
Well, let me tell you, you really evoked what I studied a lot is the saying goes, the journey is more important than the destination. So I will say to people, well, why do we have to name or seek a destination if the journey is more important? And then they'll go blah blah blah, and I'll go, well, they'll go because you have to have focus, so you got to know where you're going. I goes, no, you don't. Do you know what the flaneurs did in the 20s in Paris? They practically changed art forever because all they did was sit at coffee houses and drink coffee, and they didn't do anything. They just wandered around. So
Yes.
wandering has already been proven. Psychogeography wandering has already been proven as a valid, successful
Wait a
way.
minute, but aren't the flaneurs famous for just flaneuring around and not doing anything and not what did they discover? What's so great about them?
Well, they're the symbolist poems. There's Duchamp. There's James Joyce. There's all kinds of. I mean, I can spit. They
No,
they
no.
st- they started art movements. Yeah,
Okay. But the
yeah.
kind of art that they did, or the kind of what they're famous for, is the doing nothing. Isn't that true? Flaneurs
Well,
are by definition kind of, just bohemian goofballs, right?
bohemian goofballs is the way I like to put it. But it's like Duchamp. You know what this thing the art world's all worried about, and then some people love it is NFTs. Have you learned that? It's like, you know what it stands for? Nope. Thing. No freaking thing. But it's like, hey, Duchamp invented NFTs years ago. So how do we deal with it? Don't freak out.
No
Just
free turkey.
no free turkey. That's enough.
I don't know.
But
Somebody
it's
wanted me to do NFTs, but I
yeah,
didn't like his concept, and I'm not going to do it. First of all,
yeah.
it's his concept. If I'm going to do an NFT, it's going to be mine.
There
But
you
he wanted
go.
to do something that I thought was, I mean, even though I'm not spiritual, I told him, I said, this is really bad karma because he wanted to do like serial killers and he
Yeah.
wanted me to do like women serial killers just because I'm a woman. And I didn't want to do it. I don't want to make like baseball cards celebrating serial killers as NFTs. I
I
mean,
think
even if it's a zillion, ephemeral, whatever they call eternal light. What is it called? Ethernite? What's that
e-
thing that's not
e-
Bitcoin?
Ethernet? No, I'm not
No,
sure.
no.
Sorry.
What is it called? It's not Bitcoin. It's the other thing.
Not
There's another
NF,
thing that's not Bitcoin.
not
that
out.
people-
Wait, here,
Ethereum.
Ethereum. Thank you, young
thank
man.
you.
Ethereum.
Ethereum.
Rob.
Even if it's a zillion billion Ethereum. Nah, I'd rather
Yeah.
not.
That's good. Very good. I love it. Okay, so this is similar. Audre Lorde, the poet, said you can't dismantle the master's house using the master's tools. Yvonne Rainer responded, said you can if you expose the tools. What new tool do you suggest, or what tool do you gravitate towards right now?
A Caran d'Ache Neocolor One black crayon.
Oh, how cool. You are so
I like to be specific.
yes.
Harder to find than the Neocolor 2. Neocolor 1 is all, wax and oil. They're not water soluble. Neocolor 2 are water soluble. And they both are very good. But when I do my workshops, I try to get everybody to have that crayon because it's very, very highly pigmented. And I only work in black and white when I do these. I'm doing a workshop, in fact, very soon in San Francisco. And, I have a list. In fact, I could show you some here. But anyway.
How much do one of those suckers cost about? So if someone goes, they go to the store and they go, well, I want a Neocolor number 2.
No, they want a Neocolor 1.
Oh, Neocolor 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Just approximate price about
$2.
Wow, that is a practical, affordable tool. Now, what new toy? That's beautiful. What new toy do you suggest?
Toy. Toy. I think I'm going to skip that.
Okay.
I can't think of anything because I don't have children and I'm not really up to date on toys.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that I would describe as a toy that, I mean, I probably could make something up and try to sound cute, but I can't think of anything that really is a real toy.
Laurie, that's fine. So a poet said that artists, and when I say art in all these following questions, I mean musicians, comedians, literature, poetry, artists are the antenna of the race. They're broadcasting and detecting the hidden psychic effects of our inventions so we can learn to cope with what we don't like about our inventions. So you can go, I like Facebook or I hate Facebook, but we live in a Facebook world. You said in your lecture so well, you can say, I'm good. I loved when you said something like, there's these books, How to Live the World Without Screens. It's like, get over it. We got screens.
Yeah.
Deal. So there's hidden psychic effects that we've embraced with inventions like this one. Zoom is enabling us to have eye contact and verbal exchange, but we're not in a room at the same time together. It sure seems like it. So there's some effects of that we're not aware of. So McLuhan's main question is why do we ignore the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, even though the artists are broadcasting them to us?
Who's saying that we're ignoring them?
Right. McLuhan said we're ignoring them. So you're saying, no, that's wrong. We're not ignoring them.
Well, you're not. You're talking about them all the time. And so am I. I mean, it's one of my obsessions. No, in my book, I have this new book, and there's a whole lot about the mixed blessing, or that the necessity of mixing digital and analog, and certainly in terms of design, but it's also true for everything, because if everything, the way that I look at it, the kind of work that is like super only digital, I find boring. And things that now that are only like in terms of painting, like I'm not a big fan of, just abstract expressionism like or Pollock, or I don't think they're particularly interesting. And I guess at the time they were meant to be, oh, this is somebody expressing themselves freely and how wonderful is that. What I like is the between digital and analog, and the fight between, you can even say the contrast or the fight between old and young. I know that there's the argument or the friction or the conflict is the right word, is fascinating and makes things happen. I mean, I think that like area right in here, between things that are very different, is where interesting things happen. And when you're all in agreement in your little bubble of either digital or analog, or being a Luddite, or being, super modern in everything you do, you're missing something. Because first of all, I'm 66. I've trained these for 66 years. I'm not going to not use them, right? And then also we have this fabulous technology that does all kinds of magic things. I'm not going to ignore it and pretend that it isn't there. So what do? I mean, the best thing you can possibly do is all of it, is use the digital for what it's good at, and use these for what they're good at, and combine them. I mean, that, to me, that's so obvious. And also, I wrote a lot about when a long time ago, I took the screenwriting class. You probably know, you've heard of this guy, McKee, that teaches screenwriting, Robert McKee, and he forces you to watch Casablanca over a whole weekend. It's very painful, and they take it apart scene by scene. But one of the things that he talks about is the idea of being and becoming, which is a classical idea. And because, I didn't go to Yale or anything, I don't know, but I learned it there, that the being is like in Casablanca, you have, Ingrid Bergman, Ilsa, and Rick, Humphrey Bogart, in Paris before the war. Would you watch them, hug and kiss and love each other for 3 hours? I don't think so. I mean, you need a conflict to make a movie, to make a story. So what about like World War II? That's a pretty big conflict. Yeah. So what happens is you got the being, meaning when you're like a baby and everybody's feeding you and giving you everything you want, and, all your needs are met, and you can do whatever you want. And then when you get a little older, bam, you get reality, your place in the world, and you can't have everything you want or do everything you want. You can't love who you want. You can't work. You can't get money, all the millions of things that you can't do, and how you deal with that. And so that's conflict, and your place in the world. That's becoming. So the conflict between, or the having both, the being, the love, lovey-dovey, nice, the things that you want, maybe, art or love and all that nice stuff. And then the becoming, you have a war, you have poverty, you have disease, you have so many things that happen. And your duty, and he says that the song, the Sam Play It Again, Sam song, it's still the same old story, a fight for love and glory. It's not love or glory. So love is like the being, and the glory is like the becoming. And in your artwork, you need both. You need something free and loose and fun and, bleh, whatever you want, expressive. And then you need something strict that says no, something graphic, something hard, some rules. And then you have something to work with. You have a story, because otherwise, if you don't have conflict, if nobody's ever telling you no, that way madness lies, right? You need to have both. So that's true in art, but it's also true in literature and everything else.
Yeah, that was good. It evoked a lot of, McLuhan called it, the gap is where the action is.
Oh,
and
really?
And he said suspended judgment is important, because if you go, I love Facebook or I hate Facebook in your lonely teenage room, that's fine. But when you're with one or more people, suss out how it's shaping us. And somebody will say, I love blah, blah, blah. And I think this, it does this, the services and disservices. In fact, he got this word that's fun. He called it feed forward instead of feedback, feed forward.
Oh.
So are you more afraid of old ideas or more afraid of new ideas?
I'm not afraid of ideas.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm afraid of bees.
That is good. Do artists have a moral obligations? Do artists have moral obligations?
Not any more than anyone else.
Yeah.
I mean, I like that. I have such mixed feelings about a lot of the things that's going on, especially in social media. Like, I might get guff for this, but this is what I feel. If I felt that, me saying on Facebook, or putting a poster up, Black Lives Matter, would help anyone at all, even in an iota, I would post that every day. I would post that every second.
Yeah.
But I felt, am I being too loud?
No.
I'm sorry. Oh, thank you. Oh, look how
The
beautiful.
colors are weird, but it tastes good.
Ooh, beautiful.
They're almonds.
I can see that. Thank you. Anyway, that, I wish that if I made a yellow and blue flag thing on my Instagram, that it would, I mean, yes, I guess it would show support for the Ukraine, but unless you're literally like raising money for the Doctors Without Borders in the Ukraine with it, it's like, okay, just I don't.
I understand.
It's like, yes, artists and everyone else
Yeah.
have a moral responsibility, but what that means, and it's like, I want to do so. I find it very frustrating because I think that paying lip service or putting the right kind of post up online, it's so easy, but doing something that really helps people is really hard.
Yeah.
And like most people, let alone artists, I'm not sure what I can do right now. I feel very, very helpless to help anyone in the Ukraine or anywhere else right now. And I really admire people that figure out a way to really do it.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying. What do you worry about when you go to bed at night?
I'm a worrier. I worry about everything. But I don't worry. You know what? I don't worry so much when I go to bed at night because I distract myself. And I have a chapter in my book about it too. I hold up the book or something. I'll get it over there. But anyway, it's about, PG Woodhouse is my therapist. I feel like, if I listen to PG Woodhouse or it could be, John le Carré, it doesn't have to be Woodhouse, but I like Alexander McCall Smith, which is basically children's books for grownups, or a good mystery. I listen to all kinds of audiobooks when I go to sleep because I don't want my own thoughts. I want somebody else's story. That's what I find relaxing.
Oh, that's
So I
beautiful.
avoid my own thoughts.
Yeah.
And I don't care who knows it. I also avoid my own thoughts when I'm working. I watch Seinfeld. I watch 30 Rock. I watch, Toast of London, all kinds of great shows that I know about, mostly British things on BBC with my VPN while I'm drawing. And it really helps me not to think my own thoughts.
Yeah. Can you conjure up your earliest memory ever or one of them?
Yeah. What you want to know what it is?
Sure.
Well, I have a sandbox. I had a sandbox. We had a terrace where I lived in New York, and I had a sandbox on the terrace. And that's my earliest memory, I think, is playing in the sandbox. And then also, my father was a sculptor, and he, I don't really remember it, but I like the story so much. I try to remember it. And maybe I do, but he used to have these enormous barrels. Is that the right word? I guess it's a barrel of like at least a yard or circumference. These barrels of plasticine. It's a green sticky clay that he would use when he was making sculptures in bronze and making plaster casts. First, you make it in plasticine, and then you make a mold and make it in bronze. But he had these huge vat. It was a vat of plasticine, and he would scoop it out and use it. So, but the egg, there would still be plenty of plasticine in there, and he'd put me in as a baby in the vat.
Wow, what a memory! So let's go right into that. Yeah, let's dive in deep.
I have a picture of it, but I made it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, tell me someone within your immediate family, just briefly, and then outside your immediate family who had an impact on you, was like a role model, and what specific was that impact?
Somebody in my immediate family.
And then outside your immediate family, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, in my immediate family, it would have to be my father, who was an artist, a sculptor. And what impact he had on me was not to become an artist at first, anyway, because he was a terrible, terrible failure because he was a drunk. And he also had inherited some money when he was young. And so what he did was like wine, women, and song. He was married 4 times. He never really created enough work. He was too busy having fun and just, doing whatever he wanted and, spending his money and giving it away until there was nothing left. And so he never really made a decent reputation. I mean, he was in like some group shows. He was in the biennial at the Whitney when he was really young, in the 50, like 1950, 48, something like that. But
Well, what was the
never
main
produced enough. So
Yeah,
I
but
didn't want to be like him.
what do you think that was the main influence that you didn't want to live that? But it seems you have this free spirit and loving.
Oh, absolutely.
So
But that's
what was
also why I went into design.
Yeah.
Like I never wanted to be an artist, and have
Right.
gallery shows and shows in museums because I thought that was a snobby thing that only certain people were educated to appreciate. So my idea, like when I went into I was in graphic design department briefly until they kicked me out at RISD, was that, I was going to do the most beautiful pizza box in the world, and that would be like a political act of some kind. I was extremely naive, but that really was why I didn't want to be a painter. I
Yeah.
wanted to be a designer because it was much more democratic, that it was for everybody, and that you didn't have to have gone to the right school. But I find out almost immediately that it's just as snobby and that you should have gone to Yale or Basel, to appreciate the right kind of design. And it was very academic and heady, and it wasn't for me. So I switched into illustration, and that was silly. So I wanted to come back, and then they wouldn't let me. So I ended up in painting. So what happened was I got the exact education that I needed because I do all of those things ever since. So I do illustration, I do graphic design, I do painting, I do animation, I write, I do all those things. But for me, it's a big mush. But at RISD, it was a big deal with department you were in. They were very separate and they took it real seriously. You had to specialize in one thing, take it very seriously. But I didn't.
Beautiful. Now, outside your immediate family, someone who had an impact on you, and what specifically was that impact?
Well, I think Bill Baird. Do you know who that was?
No, tell me about him.
He had a puppet theater, and he did. Sorry, I'm eating an almond. It's very crunchy. He did the puppets in. I bet you've seen the Sound of Music.
Yes.
The goat herd scene.
Yes.
The lonely goat herd. Those are Bill Baird puppets. Marionettes, actually.
Yeah.
And Bill was a best friend of my father. And we had a place on Martha's Vineyard, and so did they. And he had a daughter named Laurie that was just my age, and she was my best friend then. So I hung around in his studio, and it was much more interesting than my father's studio because my father's work was very abstract, but Bill was making these cartoony, animals, and he had like a stripper called Bubbles LaRue. He had a lion called Charlemagne, and all of these funny characters, very cartoony and wacko, but realistic in a way. So as a child, I related much more to him and his work because it had more humor and it was more, people and animals. And my father's was much more, abstract, sort of like Henry Moore or something.
Right. That was good. You really sort of anticipated the next question is like, what was the tipping point for you to say, this is what I'm going to pursue? But since you pursued so many things, I'm
I'm
curious.
still waiting. Wait. I'm
Yeah.
66 and I still haven't picked a major.
Yeah, I love that line. That's so cool.
That's my bum.
I love it. And I heard it and I totally
No, I've
relate.
used it before, I admit.
Yeah. And I used it. I employed it myself. We grow up saying, what are you going to be? What's your career pursuit? And then, you don't have to specialize. You can do many things if you want. And a screenwriting teacher, interesting, you brought up the other screenwriting teacher. A screenwriting teacher told me that a great film or great art is when you can clearly see the intention of the maker. Stanley Kubrick says the opposite. Great art is when you can clearly not
to
see.
disguise art.
Yeah.
Isn't there a quote about the aim of art is great art is to disguise art? But I don't know who said that.
Yeah, that's another. I will look that up because I need to know that.
Somebody said it somewhere. Wasn't me.
But what role does intention play in your creative process?
A very quick one. Because I'm very, the workshop that I teach and what I really found very helpful. I mean, the reason that I teach this workshop is because I needed it, because I was so insecure. I've been drawing all my life. And every time as an illustrator, anyway, I would get a brief, I would get a job to do for which I was being paid. I would think, usually I'd think it was stupid. And the art director who gave me the, brief was stupid, and that I was smarter than they were. So already I had a problem. And then it would be something like, I remember in 2000, I got this job, the 21st Century Mom. Her name is Jennifer. She has a tattoo and she buys organic fruit and listens to, Coldplay or whatever. I was like, I'm not going to draw that. What a stupid thing. They're, making these generalizations. And so I needed something. So what I needed was like anything. Like I could take this beautiful green almond and make it into this could be her head, right? Obviously, because it's oval. That's the easy one. But, I could turn anything into I could turn these into the 21st Century Mom. But, what I would do was that I would make all of this analog, like black and white line work, scribbles, blobs, shapes, faces, bodies, animals, just so I had this incredible resource already living in my computer, right? So I would have, in the old days, I would scan it. Now I would take a picture with a phone or a camera, but, and it would all be just black and white, but it would be living in my computer in a big file. And I would just grab stuff and I would say, okay, I'm going to turn this blob into, the 21st Century Mom's shoe, or, then I had something. Instead of saying, oh no, what am I going to do? Or what a stupid job I have to do. I would think, what could this be? And that would make all the difference. So you already had a something, and it's a lot better than having a nothing. So I never wanted to be faced with a white, empty, blank piece of paper ever again. So because of that, I invented the workshop, where what we do is we make this incredible, you could call it an arsenal of lines and blobs and shapes and faces and numbers and letters and anything you could possibly want, so that you always start with a something and you never are faced with a nothing, So that's why, this is like, to me, this is the devil. You never want nothing.
Yeah. No, I love that. And you gave a good example in your lecture where you took that sort of triangle of black and they needed a canary and you went boom,
Exactly.
boom, boom, boom. And it's like the kids just went wild like that. All right. And you really evoked, I think it's Cezanne or Matisse said, if you take your painting and you put it in the bushes and it blends in, it's a good painting.
Oh, really? Okay. I don't know if any of my paintings are good then, because I don't think they would.
Well, Duchamp said there's no art without an audience. How much are you thinking of your audience when you're making your art?
Never, ever. I must say, as an illustrator, it makes a difference because, you know, as an illustrator and designer, you need to send a message. You're communicating something specific for somebody else, right? They say, draw a bowl of fruit. You go, you know, you do what they say. The New Yorker says, draw, you know, Paul Schaefer, and you draw Paul Schaefer. There's no mystery about it.
Right.
When you're doing your own painting, it's a different story. But I never really, even when I'm drawing a portrait of someone, I'm not really thinking about, you know, anybody particular. I'm just trying to make a thing. But the idea is, you know, ideally, you're not really thinking at all. You're taking a something and you're letting it suggest something to you that becomes Paul Schaefer or becomes a bowl of fruit or becomes whatever it is, so that you don't have to worry about a lot of stuff. I'm such a worrier and so insecure that that's what I'm saying, is that I go to great lengths to not think about anything. I'm just, it's sort of like people that, with actors or with writers. I mean, a lot of people say that a character, like if you're a novelist, which I'm not, that, you know, a character sort of invents it, you know, like what would that character do?
Yeah.
The character tells you.
Yeah.
And sometimes like the crayon tells you or the blob tells you. And so it's a different way of thinking. It's not like, you know exactly where you're going from A to B to C every time you do something. To me, that's the kiss of death. You know, you're focused on doing a good thing. I don't like that feeling. So instead, I do 100 things in a hurry and I throw out 99. So that's how I get away from my own worries.
Yeah.
It's working fast.
Laurie, I think it's helping me. You're articulate and it's fun what you're saying to me. And I appreciate it. And there was a line I heard years ago. It goes, I'm trying to get more control over my spontaneity. And it seems as though you have this spontaneity thing in you. And you sort of explained why you do it. You said, because I'm a worrier and if I do it quick. But what's the roots of where it came from? Because there's something in you that you have that epiphany to be creative by doing it that way. Where do you think that came from?
I don't know. I know that I've been teaching. I've been teaching since exactly 1978. So I was 23 then. I started teaching at SVA. I was teaching illustration and design, but I didn't invent the idea for doing the workshop until the early 90s. So in those 20 years, somehow I myself started working in that way, but I was kind of in the closet about it. I kind of thought that there was something wrong with me, or maybe there is something wrong with me, that I needed a blob or a something to start with, and that I hated the idea that I had like a white piece of paper and a brief, and that I was supposed to just make something.
Yeah.
So I was working for all kinds of great places like the New Yorker and the New York Times, and I wanted to do something good. And that was also the kiss of death. That was also making me worried because it was the New Yorker, and I'd idolized the New Yorker all my life, you know, and wanted to draw for them so bad, you know, and prove that I was good and all this stuff. So I think that me developing this, starting with a something idea, evolved. And then I started working that way, but nobody knew it. Yeah. And then eventually I brought it to my students, but it happened over a period of many years. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, no, that answered it fine. And it's also this saying the white, I mean, here's the most important slide I'll show you today. And it was white. And I was like, that is so brilliant.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it really spoke to me. And my friend had this theory, how Duchamp invented conceptual art or helped invent it, whatever is, you go into an art museum and there's a painting, then there's another painting, then there's another painting. And then this painting's gone. It says on loan to the Cleveland Museum. And he went, Oh, that's art. The missing painting. So the white is art. So, I mean,
Do you really think it was the Cleveland Museum?
Oh, hi, oh. There's an O on each end and a high in the middle. But I'm curious, you mentioned Seinfeld. Who were because you have a good sense of humor. Who are you?
Larry David. Mel Brooks?
No, growing up as a kid.
Hirschfeld.
Oh, Hirschfeld. Who else?
Steinberg.
Yeah.
Big into Steinberg and Hirschfeld and also what's his name? William Steig.
Yeah. No, that's good.
There's so many.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah.
So, but I'm also saying when you did comedy, not comedy graphics so much, your comedy roots, like your radio or TV movie people who you grew up early that had an impact on you to have humor, comedy.
Well, I really like some obscure people. Like I love, the early New Yorker writers like S.J. Perelman.
Yeah.
And people like that he was really kind of a surrealist.
Oh, he's amazing.
Just absurd, And so there was something very sophisticated about Perelman that I loved. Although now, when I read him, a little goes a very long way.
Yeah.
But then there are people like Will Cuppy that nobody's heard of that I adore. George Ade, Ade. These are writers, these are artists and writers from the 20s that, especially Will Cuppy. He wrote How to Become Extinct, and he wrote whatchamacallit, The Decline and Fall of Practically Everybody. He was a very eccentric man who wrote either history, like, who really was Charlemagne or Lady Godiva or Pericles or you could think of any ancient history. And he would write down all of the facts, like Wikipedia, basically like Wikipedia, but unbelievably funny.
Right.
And like nobody else. So I love Will Cuppy. And, I've just always loved, of course, the Marx Brothers and all that stuff. But
I was waiting
I don't really know.
Yeah. No, I was waiting for you to say that, and also Tom Lehrer. I was wondering if you.
I don't like Tom Lehrer.
Okay. No, that's fine.
No, I'll tell you something. I'm a red diaper baby. And of course, my parents, especially my mother, liked Tom Lehrer. And I'm not saying he wasn't good, but I found him a bit corny.
Yeah. No, that's fine. You answered it well. Let's go back to tools. McLuhan says everything we invent extends some humanness. So clothing extends our skin, knife and fork extends our teeth. Say religion or philosophy you can't hold in your hand, it extends consciousness. So what does the writing utensil extend for you? What humanness? Whether it's the crayon or the pencil or
they're all the same. I mean, I just think when you're either writing or drawing, isn't it just making something it's communicating your own thoughts and ideas to other people that can't see inside your brain, so you do the best you can.
Perfect.
Show them,
Yeah.
Don't,
What do you think the motive?
But you show and tell.
Show it. Yeah. What do you think the motive of the cave artist was?
Breakfast? I don't know. Yeah, I don't even know what my own motives are. How am I supposed to figure out? I have no idea what their own motives were. They probably had a lot more immediate concerns. Like I said, like breakfast, like where's the next bite coming from?
Yeah. No, it's interesting
Or
because
who's going to bite me?
Yeah. Like have humans, artists, creators really changed in motives since the cave time? Is it really basically still the same thing?
I don't know, but I love that song. I was just in LA for a week. I did this, I do painting and I did this art show, this spring break art show. And there were these younger people there. A lot of, well, 90% of the other artists were like 25 or, really young. And because the spring break show is sort of known for that. And I was singing this song. Did you ever hear Pico and Sepulveda?
I love that song.
Pico and Sepulveda, La Brea, tar pits where nobody's dreams come true. So they had never heard it, and they were all from LA. But I was thinking about, I could show you a painting that I did while I was there. I changed a painting that I already had. I don't know if there's a way to share it on this thing, but I could.
Let's not share it now, but keep talking.
Okay. Anyway, I made a painting to this thing that sort of looks like, I don't know, a mastodon or some kind of early elephant type creature because of the La Brea Tar Pits song.
Yeah. Well, that's beautiful.
That doesn't answer your question, but I don't care.
That's fine. That's reminding me of Captain Beefheart, who was he was an abstract expressionist or a neo-abstract expressionist painter. Besides being a Dada rock guy, when he saw the La Brea tar pits, he walked up to it and wanted to jump in, and his parents grabbed him like, no. He wanted to go hang out with those people or those animals. Excuse me.
Glad he had parents there.
Yeah. What's more important, conviction or compromise?
Well, I'm the worst at compromise. I don't know. I can't answer that question, but compromise is I have a problem with it. So whatever the other thing is, I'll take that.
Conviction, yeah. So I spoke with this filmmaker, Michael Apted, 40 years ago, and I said, why do rock video...
7 Up, right? Isn't he the 7 Up guy?
Yes, he just passed away.
Yeah.
And amazing filmmaker, documentarian. And I said, why do rock video makers feel so obliged to edit fast? Most people don't know Abel Gance invented rapid montage in 1922 in Paris, but in the 80s, it really flourished, this fast editing pace with MTV. In fact, Marty Scorsese said, I cut my films faster because of MTV. So he said, because we've learned to take in information faster. Laurie, can we literally learn to take in information faster, or are we just brainwashed to believe we can?
I never thought about it being, that we can take in information faster than what? Faster than 100 years ago?
Yeah, like we've learned to take it. Well, the hidden question really is it literally possible for humans to multitask?
Oh, I really multitask. I'm the multitaskiest. What's kind of funny? There's a coinkydink here. Apparently, I'm Innerviews. I just saw the little pun. You like puns? Number 54. And in spring break, I was always booth 54. And of course, I used to go to Studio 54 every night.
Well, do you know? Do you believe in coincidence or serendipity, or you think it's just no? I mean,
no, it's probably nothing.
Yeah, but I think listen, I think it's fun to study patterns and see how they pop up. I'll give you an example that happened yesterday that was amazing. It was International Women's Day. I attend 3 Finnegan's Wake reading clubs a month. One's in Dublin, one's in Texas, and one's here in Venice, California.
Ask me my birthday.
What's your birthday?
June 16th.
June 16th. That's Bloomsday. How
Indeed.
Cool. Yeah. So
anyway, go ahead.
My mom's birthday is yesterday, We're reading Finnegan's Wake in Dublin yesterday morning, and the word mom, mother, the greatest mom ever comes up like 20 times in the 8 pages we read. I mean, coincidence. Then last night we're reading one page in the Venice Wake group, and the word Dolores comes up, and that's her name spelled exactly right. So it's just coincidence, but it's still
And then there's the Seinfeld Dolores.
There you go. So
remember that?
You know, it's like,
wait, you do remember that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. But I mean, it's like an amazing thing that we can recognize these, but I think it's people are just open to it. And some people go, oh, it's just coincidence. And some people know it more. It's like they use words to try to explain it, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of a cynic, so I shouldn't have even brought it up.
Oh, well, a poet said that poetry is outing your inner dialogue. You know, we all have this inner dialogue. What language is your inner dialogue in?
Det vet jag inte. Jag vet inte varför jag har lärt mig svenska, men jag har bott där under många år. Och nu är det, jag kan ganska flytande.
What language is that? Is that made up?
Nej! Gissa, kan du inte gissa? Visste du inte att jag bor ibland i Göteborg?
It's either Pig Latin or Esperanto.
Nej. Det är ett riktigt språk.
Prague?
Från Sverige. Jag bor i Sverige. Skandinavien.
Oh, Scandinavian. Oh
Nej, det är svenska. I was trying to give you a hint. Scandinavia. It's Swedish.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. What form is your inner consciousness in?
Jello? I don't know what you mean.
No, that's exactly what I mean. I have to tell you, there's a great filmmaker. There's a great filmmaker in New York City. I interviewed her a few years ago. I says, what language is your inner dialogue in? She goes, I wish I knew. No, you really get what we're after. There's a couple of my film heroes say, ignore yourself. Jonas Mekas right there in New York said, there is no self-expression. The great jazz pianist Cecil Taylor says, I'm just a vehicle and this stuff just comes through me. So I know it's a stupid question. It's both and it depends, but your hunch, please. Is art making more self-expression or more you're a vehicle for whatever technology or culture is dominant?
I don't think you can get away from, the time you're living in and the technology that's available to you. I think there's no way that I don't reflect, the years 1955 till whenever I die. And that there's a certain amount of self-expression. It's like, which came first, chicken or egg kind of question to me. It's like, obviously both.
Yeah, beautiful. And can art making be egoless?
You're asking the wrong person.
I love how you did. This is so fun. See, I want to tackle my questions. I want to rethink them. So you help me. People, they go along with it like it's an agenda. You really help me. So I appreciate that. Why is it so difficult for humans to consider the possibility that life may be pointless? I'm not saying life is pointless. I'm saying, why is it difficult for humans to consider that possibility?
I don't know. I've never thought that life is pointless. Art is pointless. That's true. That is the definition of art, is that, I mean, it was Oscar Wilde said that, and I absolutely agree. That's how you know something is art. If it has a point, it's design. If you're trying to get from here to there with it, it's not art.
Wow, because that reminds me of Warhol and McLuhan said, art is anything you can get away with.
That's true. Yeah.
But Marshall's really nailed it. What do you think of this one? The Balinese have no word for art. They do everything as well as they can.
Okay, that sounds nice.
Lewis Carroll said, I believe as many as 6 impossible things.
Before breakfast.
Wow. Thanks for finishing that line. Have you believed in any impossible things lately?
You better check back with me because I don't know what's impossible. I don't really have, a word I don't like is dream. Like people think that artists, especially, or maybe everybody is
Yeah.
going around with a dream and a goal and I've never felt like that. It's more like I've had horrible, and I mean horrible setbacks lately having to do with my painting and my book and everything I do. I feel very often like the whole world is against me and trying to, shut me up or make me disappear. And it's very depressing. And we're living in horrible times, very depressing times. And all of it is, mighty real. I'm not just being a cynic, even though I am a cynic and very negative. It really is crappy out there. And for a variety of reasons, and which I don't feel like getting into. But I figure every day you have a choice. You're going to make stuff or not make stuff. And every day I wake up, or pretty much every day I wake up and I make stuff. I write something, or I paint something, or draw something, or whatever it is. It's just the way that I do. And once in a while, something gets published. Once in a while, I get paid for things. Once in a while, things do work out. But the default is pretty grim. It's not a good time to be an artist or, old, or a lot of the things that I do are not, easy to, the fun part is creating things. And I'm very good at that. But getting noticed, getting your painting sold or your books read or reviewed and all of that crap is a nightmare, and I don't enjoy it one bit, to compete, because now with social media, particularly Instagram, everyone is competing with, people that have 500,000 followers, and so you disappear if you don't. So it has nothing to do with the quality of the work. It has nothing to do with, is this a good painting or is it a funny story? It's just your name and how famous you are in outer space. It's like, I'm not going to, okay, I'm done with that rant.
But perfect lead in, Laurie, thank you. Moshe Feldenkrais works with healing and movement. He says it's literally possible to identify a weakness and incorporate it to become a strength, rather than we're taught to overcome a weakness. Tell me a weakness you turned into a strength.
Well, I think I did with the workshop, and the mistakes on purpose, how to make mistakes on purpose, is exactly that. Is because I felt so insecure and so angry and a lot of negative things. Like I said, I felt like I was the smartest person in the room, that I was, lions led by donkeys all my life, kind of thing, where to be an illustrator, it's a pretty thankless job. And so I started, freaking out every time I got a job. It was not fun. So I had to lighten it up. And the way that I did that was with, like, for lack of a better thing, this widget, anything like a blob. And so I turned that whole thing into a way of working that has been helpful not only to me, but to other people. So that's good, right?
It's really good. And it's also, how do you turn a rejection into a redirection? Your whole book in that lecture you gave was like, this illustrates that perfectly. This is a major thing.
By the way, are you going to share on this YouTube thingy a link to my book and stuff like that? Because
there's 2 links. There's 2 links.
Okay.
They can go. Anger can be a productive emotion when, fill in the blank.
Anger can be a productive emotion when I don't know. I'm a very angry kind of person, but it's fun. I think it's I think that there's something weird, like in Sweden, I remember seeing, it's not really anger, but like a row of really well-behaved children waiting in line with their parents at the post office. And I thought, there's something wrong with this picture. You know, I just felt like, why are they just standing there? You know, I would be going bonkers, you know, just out of boredom, getting angry. And
Yeah.
I think that that's healthy when you have a reason to get frustrated or angry or upset, especially as a kid. If you're not allowed to, then maybe later you get to be a serial killer or something, because the little things that make you angry, they should make you angry, you know,
Yeah.
and you should be able to express it and then get over it and have it happen again and get over it, rather than let it, you know, explode later in a big anger. But because
Well,
there's so many annoying things, everything offends me.
yeah. Well, that's the human condition. This is the main emphasis of Finnegan's Wake by James Joyce is you fall down, then you get back up. So he condensed the book into one word, laugh tears. You laugh and you cry. So why not blend them into one word, laugh tears? So perfect lead into you create
that
what
song. What was that song? There's a really stupid song I have on my playlist. I get knocked down, but I get up again. I'll come. I'll get it. I'll find it and send it to you. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. But it's a lead into this
Chumbawamba.
Chumbawamba.
Yeah, I get knocked down.
Clever young man.
Good
I'm
going.
listening. I'm listening and laughing.
You know, when you're laughing, you're learning. This is a key thing I learned once. So it's fun. This line is you create what you resist. I'm not saying you, Laurie, but this is a theory or someone came up with this. You create what you resist. And Bob Goldthwait, the comedian, morphed it into you are what you hate. James Joyce said, it's a curious thing how your mind is super saturated with the religion in which you say you disbelieve. And Louis Buñuel nailed it. He said, thank God I'm an atheist. So, so this idea, what you resist persists, or you create what you resist. I'm not saying you, Laurie, but just in general, what do you think of that idea? One creates what one resists.
Unfortunately, I agree.
Why do you say unfortunate?
Well, how many hours do you have to talk about my mother? I mean, really, you know, I can't. It's just that she was a manic depressive, and she was super crazy and institutionalized. This was serious. And I lived alone with her, and it was horrible. And, you know, I lived alone with her for 13 years. So it was bad. And
Yeah.
I think that, you know, the worst thing that I could be is, you know, emotional or, you know, because she was so emotional. The worst thing, you know, that I could be was like a poet, or, you know, so I resist things that are kind of gushy or sentimental or emotional or all of those things. And I think that the reason, of course, is that, like, we're probably all really like that, you know, but
Yeah.
it's like to make work that is weirdly cheerful. You know, sometimes people say, you know, your paintings really cheer me up because I use bright colors, big, you know, bright pink and red. And I look at them and I laugh and I say, well, I'm a depressive. What do you want? You know, to me, it's obvious that that's the human condition, is that, you know, you're in denial about all this stuff. Why are you in denial about it? Because it has some truth, right?
But is that part of the healing process? Isn't that you healing?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, this is funny because this sounds sort of gushy, but I'm very curious because I've been studying motherhood. I'm making a film about mother. Huh?
Poor you.
Oh, poor me. But Alice Walker said, yes, mother, I can see you are flawed. You have not hidden it. That is your greatest gift to me.
Okay.
Any comment?
I don't really know if I get it. Yes, mother, I can see that you're flawed. That is your greatest gift to me. That she didn't hide her flaws.
Yeah, I think that's what she's implying. Yeah.
Well, I need a few weeks to think about that. I don't know if I can process that.
Can you forget to die?
No. Nobody gets out of here alive. You've heard that. You know. No. And actually, I wrote also about this in my other book, in the All the Wrong People Have Self-Esteem. I did a chapter in that book called Hamsterism, which is my religion, because when I was, I don't know, 3, my hamster died, because, you know, that's what hamsters do. And my parents were well, they weren't even hipsters. They were beatniks. And it was, 1958. So they were beatniks. And so, oh no, what happens when you die? And they said, well, the Christians believe this, and the Buddhists believe that, and the Hindus believe this and that, and we're Jewish, but not really, because we're beatniks, and it's not cool to be anything. And when you're older, you can choose your own religion, and we'll teach you about all of it, blah, 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 blah. But all I wanted to know was that the hamster and me and everybody else were going to be okay and live forever, and everything was going to be fine, because that's what you want to know when you're 3.
Yeah.
So I decided right then, without realizing I was deciding it, that I was going to believe in something which might as well be called hamsterism or anything. But I'm a believer, and I was then, and I am now, in some kind of benevolent thing that I don't care if you call it God. You could call it God, or the hamster, or the big hamster, or the sugared almond. I don't care, but I've never changed, and that is what I believe in. And the reason I believe in it is because I'm really afraid of death, and I think there's something wrong and weird about people that aren't.
Do you pray?
No.
If God exists, what would you like God to say to you after you die?
Well, God does exist, and I don't think that it's the kind of God that will, like, this would be a good joke if I could come up with a good answer. But if God is a hamster, that hamster, it might say, well, thank you for feeding me lukewarm milk with an eyedropper.
That is good. I like
that.
That is good, Laurie. Yeah, a guy, you might, this guy who's a comedian, comic, Bill Dugo, said, he wants God to say, we checked our records, we made a mistake. You're not dead. We're sending you back.
I like that. I like that. Yeah.
If you were walking down the street today and you met yourself as a 12-year-old, what would you say to your 12-year-old self?
Go to boarding school now. Don't wait another year. I went to boarding school when I was 13 to get away from my mother, and I should have done it sooner.
Wow. On what occasion do you lie?
The same most people do, to spare other people's feelings.
Yeah.
Like, or I try to not exactly lie. I say, those paintings, they're just, I love the way you've hung those paintings, they're, or something, I try to make it sound.
I love the way the food spread
is really good.
Yeah. Back
I've
to
never seen anything like it.
Back to the what was the motive of the cave artist? One guy said recently, to keep people in the cave. Like,
oh, that's a good one.
Come on over to my cave and look at my cave paintings. Yeah, Which way should toilet paper come off the roll, over or under?
I refuse to answer that on the grounds that it will incriminate me. I don't care. You may very well think that. I couldn't possibly comment. Do you know what that comes from?
Tell me.
Well, there's the new version of whatchamacallit? Anders, what is it? What is it?
What?
You know, the thing with Ian Richardson in the 80s. What's it called?
Card.
A House of Cards. They did a new version of House of Cards, but I don't like it, and I've never seen it. Even though I've never seen it, I don't like it. But they did a version in the 80s. But the guy, the main character, says you may very well think that I couldn't possibly comment.
Very
so
good.
That's what I'm going to say.
That's good. Okay, 5. We're almost out of here, Laurie. This has been delightful. Just a few more questions. These are 5 Alan Watts questions, just off the top of your head in a couple words. Who started it all?
Naomi Reichbart.
Are we going to make it?
No.
Where do we put it?
Under.
Who's cleaning it up?
You.
I like you. When an answer cracks you up, that's doing pretty good. Is it serious?
Maybe.
Whoa. Okay, that was super cool. If a publisher was to release your autobiography off the top of your head, what title would it be?
I have it already. Memoir. MEMWAH.
Oh, how cool.
But don't let anybody steal that. If you steal that, wait. Let me rephrase that. Memoir. MEMWAH. Copyright Laurie Rosenwald 2022.
Hello.
Right.
Rob will enforce all problems in that regard. Okay. The publisher says, Laurie, we want to scent the glue and the binding of your autobiography. What smell?
Elmer's.
Oh, that is a great smell.
I love Elmer's.
They want to have a color of ink other than black for some of the pages. What color?
I'm not going to pick one.
Okay, that's good. If a statue was built in your honor, where would you want it displayed, and what would it be made of?
You know, at the top of the stairs at the Metropolitan Museum of Art.
Yes.
When you go up the main staircase, I want it to be there. And I want it to be made of encaustic.
What is that?
Hot wax. I paint in wax.
Oh, hot wax. How cool. Oh, I never asked this question anymore. If you could have any artist do your portrait, who would you like, living or dead?
Pablo.
Nice. Tell me something good you never had and you never want.
Something good I never had and I never want?
Yeah.
A baby.
That is a legitimate good answer. I've gotten that answer before. If you were in a vat of vomit up to your neck and someone threw a bag of shit at your face, what would you do?
I'm going to I don't even want to listen. I thought you were a gentleman. I'm not going to. You may very well think that. I couldn't possibly comment.
That's all right. I'm sorry.
God.
That's all right. You can shame me. Yeah, my wife usually says,
"Don't you? How very dare you?"
Okay, but
get back in your caveman.
We do come from satire. I'm curious your feeling is what is the function of satire? And just to start it, Jonathan Swift compared satire to a mirror in which people could see every face but their own. Like, how do you incorporate satire in your work? What's the function of satire?
What's the function of satire? Well, just to, like I told my AA group, I said, I find it easier to not drink than to drink the AA Kool-Aid.
That's good.
Put everyone else down.
That is good. What's the function of poetry?
I have no idea. I have no truck with poetry.
What's the function of music?
Make me dance.
There's no right or wrong answers to any of these questions, but Laurie, you got that one right.
I lived briefly in Motown, and I've never gotten over it.
Oh, really? Yeah,
I only like soul music and funk and stuff like that.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, only.
Dude, you're talking my language.
I have extremely limited taste in music, and it's all Smokey Robinson and James Brown. Yeah.
Can't get better than that. I was raised in Flint, Michigan, man.
There's nothing else.
Yeah. Who are your 3 favorite funk artists besides James Brown?
I would say Bootsy Collins, Parliament and Funkadelic, and well, maybe I think probably no, I just have one. Funkadelic, Parliament Funkadelic.
That's it. I asked George Clinton all these questions. I did the longest interview with George ever. He's my hero, man. George is he talked about that white paper thing too. He said funk is the absence of.
I don't get that. What does that mean?
It means that funk is not the note you play, it's the space you have in between.
Really?
Oh yeah, funk is but he's a smart guy, but he's
I bet he's smart, but I don't really get it. But okay, I'm trying to parse that.
It's not so much what you play. It's sort of like how Thelonious Monk processed. He said, my friend says, Thelonious Monk heard all the notes Charlie Parker heard, but only decided to play some of them.
Oh, that's
so
good.
Bird's great and he can play a lot. Rock music is over the top and it plays
for me. Yeah.
It plays a lot, but if you pull back like Sly Stone, James Brown, they know how to have space in between.
I love Sly.
Yeah. So just a couple more that's been really delightful. Laurie, thank you so much. Thornton Wilder said, art is confession. Art is the secret told, but art is not only the desire to tell one's secret, it's the desire to tell it and hide it at the same time. You've laid your cards on the table for 90 minutes. I'm not insinuating you haven't already answered this, but what's it really all about for you?
I think it's we're here to have fun. I think that, there's a lot to be said for my therapist, PG Woodhouse, and my theory of avoiding. I used to think, like I said, like when I was a kid, because I was dragged around to all the museums and I came from this arty family, and I had sort of a healthy disrespect for culture in a way. I felt like it was a snobbish thing and I didn't want to be like that. And so I thought, no, I'm going to do something else, and then I realized later that what would be the point of living in a democracy or being healthy? Like, I hate people that spend a lot of time and effort being healthy and running. And I feel sorry for people that work out at the gym all the time, because I don't get it. Like, to be healthy, why be healthy? Why be even alive if you can't look at a Picasso or a Matisse or have a beautiful meal or experience beauty? There's no point to any of it. So our job is to create as much beauty and delicious meals and laughing, fun times, and all the stuff that is easy to, in a way, take for granted. If you're a serious person, you go, yeah, well, you should be more like political in your art or whatever. But I never think that really works anyway. So I think we should entertain people and try to make them feel good and happy and like that.
Our commonality in loving funky music is your answer. Fun is the key.
That's a good one.
Isn't that amazing? It's right
there. Fun is the key.
The other line that really, watching your lecture today, really I related to deeply was something Maria Callas said. She said, in order to be a performer, you have to have half your brain in control and half of it in chaos, out of control.
Oh, interesting.
So, I mean, I think that's what I learned from your workshop.
Both.
The both. And you gotta, you can't overthink things. But you brought up politics there for a second. I just had one political question. Anarchy is making rules for yourself, not others. That's Utah Phillips. Who's entitled to make the rules?
Anarchy is making rules for yourself, not others. Well, I don't really get that.
But just in general, the quote aside, who's entitled to make the rules?
Well, I'm going to give the most boring answer, like a democratically elected government can make the rules. I'm not, that's the best thing, you're the one with the quotes. What was it that the way that they said about capitalism, that it's the worst one except for all the others, or how does that go? It's like,
I don't know, but I know what you're saying generally.
Yeah, it's like, this is the best we could come up with, considering.
Yeah.
Something like that.
It's like I like
democracy. Let's put it that way.
No, that's beautiful. And it's not a boring answer. It's good. And it's like, what I love is you're playful too. You know about being playful. It's like, I like mixed metaphors. And I always go, yeah, it's fun to quote people, but more fun is how do you reinvent the quote? My friend said, Warhol says, in the future, everyone will be famous for 15 minutes. My friend said, yeah, in the future, everyone will have privacy for 15 minutes.
You know what I think?
What?
It's like, I want my cake. I want to have my cake and eat it too. And then I want more cake.
Nothing wrong with that. And have fun. Like you said. Two more questions. We're out of here. Laurie, thank you so much. What's the cultural shift you see developing today that inspires you?
Oh, that's too bad you said that. There's a lot of cultural shifts that appall me.
Okay, well, talk about that. Talk about one that appalls you then.
Oh God, there's so many, but like, for instance, now, and this has happened only in the last, I would say 3 years, or it's really bad now. Everything is a formulaic, whether it's predictive text or having to make a Google appointment to make a fucking phone call, gosh darn phone call, and remember it in a different time zone and multiply that by 1,000, and the stress of, when you apply for a grant or to go to a school or for a job, or no matter what it is, you can never write a letter out of your own brain. You have to fill in a number of very specific. I just finished today was one more form. Just to get paid like $400 from somebody. I spent an hour and a half trying to figure out their Google Doc and fill in their thing saying I've never been a member of the Communist Party or something. To paid by Pinterest $400. I'm sorry. It's not worth it. I'd like to pay $400 just to not fill in the form. Nobody's noticed this. It's the same thing with emoji. I'm the only person that's never used an emoji.
I never use emojis. No, we relate them. Never. I don't use them.
Really?
And you know what I get? I never did. Never. And I don't even have a cell phone. But listen to this. But it is funny because
how many people watch this? 3? You don't have any social media presidents. Why am I doing this? We have a lot of how many watchers, whatever. How many watcherers do you have?
One guy got 700.
One guy. You got one guy.
We're doing. We got 700. No, I have a bit. It's how long? How it's long. It's one person. Listen, I have I know the formula is if you stick around long enough. When YouTube first came out 15 years ago, I put up a YouTube video. It's called How to Make a YouTube Video That's Not a YouTube Video. Now it's got like 3,000 hits. Well, why? Because it's been on YouTube for 15 years, not because it's any good.
Maybe you can answer my question. I did a movie on YouTube not that long ago, but in like 98 or something.
Yeah.
And it was adorable Icelandic art students and their charming, unusual names.
Yeah.
And it got like, I don't know, 20,000 views or something. And then it disappeared. And they're not supposed to disappear. And
well, did you have any copyright music?
Yeah, but usually if that's the problem, they tell you and they send you a
spike. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a copy of it?
No, that's why I really want to get it.
Oh, that's sad. Yeah, I don't.
Anyway, I could never get to the bottom of that.
I would say one thing is this is the line that everybody you tell people and they go, you go, just Google a video of mine was taken down by YouTube. Can I retrieve it in Google? And then see if they'll tell you,
Oh, I've done that, but anyway, it doesn't matter.
You've done that. Yeah. Okay. But it's interesting that we sort of covered what happened. I gave you like 20 possible dates and then you picked one. And then I said, okay, you confirm. And then when I sent the confirmation, I made a mistake on the date and you were like, so I feel for you because at least it wasn't a Google Doc where you have to fill in all these things.
I'm not. No. I'm not accusing you. I'm just saying that everyone's, maybe not you, but everyone else has succumbed to this.
No, I think people hate it.
You cannot write a letter anymore. You cannot put things in your own words. I won't use an emoji because I can't draw my own. It's not that simple. I mean, it's just horrible.
Well, that's probably how you can make $1 gazillion. Right?
No, not really. As a matter of fact, it's a real pain. I know somebody, Andreas Samuelsson, a Swedish artist, did emojis that are really good, and I bought them for 99 cents, and I'm going to use his.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to start using them because they're good.
Right. But how much does he get out of the 99 cents? That's
I don't know.
Yeah. But it's funny because here's where you help me. The second to last question is, what is the cultural shift you see developing today that inspires you or appalls you? I could add
that. I think
and then you already answered
fascist. I think we're living in a fascist society, and it's becoming more so every second, and it's frightening the hell out of me. And it's things like that are doing it. It's basically cut and paste. Everything has been something else before. And that's why I teach my workshops and why I wrote my book, because I think the idea of mistakes on purpose isn't really, I like the way How to Make Mistakes on Purpose sounds, but the real thing is bringing in the random rather than, if it's this thing or if it's, I call it a mistake because what I want to do is get people away from the idea of everything has to be, problem solving, going from here to there and knowing exactly where you're going to end up. What do you learn? What do you get out of that? Nothing. You don't discover anything new. And penicillin and, Post-it notes and all those things that we all know about, they all happen. It's not really by mistake, but what it was is something random happened. Somebody got a burr stuck on their pants and they went, oh, what could this be? And then they invented Velcro. But they didn't sit there and think, oh, what this world needs is a new way of sticking stuff together. And I'm going to be creative now. It doesn't work that way. But it's really hard to make a mistake when your whole world is digital.
Totally. I agree with you. And I was just saying, if I should reword my question, because it could be what inspires you or appalls you. Because you know what everyone says, what inspires you? Oh, that we're celebrating diversity. I mean, 90% of people say that. So I'm always,
how diverse is that?
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. It's an interesting thing where you could take all the answers I've gotten for 40 years and compare them, and how there is this, 80% people answer this way. There's two little things. Yeah. Well, there's two little things that I wanted to tell you.
Because of the medication.
Well, two little things that you brought up, that Velcro story with your dad, loving Velcro. And that there's this great word I just want to tell you if you don't know, biomimicry. It's how
I do know.
biomimicry, right? And then did you also know PowerPoint is banned by the Pentagon because it's too effective? So when you go, don't you just hate it when what I say is printed on the screen? It's like, what's the point? I was lecturing to art students and I was talking about Duchamp, trying to get to them with eye contact and verbal exchange. And the teacher flashed the picture up on the screen and I saw all their eyes go up and I goes, what? I go, don't do that. I don't want PowerPoint at my lectures. I want us to talk because they get that all day. And then so it makes you wonder if the Pentagon's banning it, maybe we should rethink PowerPoints in every classroom. Wow. So last question, Laurie. Thank you. I hope our dialogue can go on forever and ever. What gives you the most optimism?
Oh, that nothing lasts forever. That in spite of not wanting to die particularly, I'm really glad that we won't have to sit through I won't have to watch this deterioration of individuality and originality go on forever, and that maybe the young people will save the planet. And I believe that there's always been a fight between good and evil, and that evil has never triumphed forever. We wouldn't be here. The Third Reich would have, won, and everything would, or we would have blown up the world already with nuclear. I just think there's something built in that it's like this. It goes in waves, and I'm trying to make a wave, but it's not working, but it's not boom down forever. I just think that that's not how things work. So hopefully we're down here, but that it's just inevitable that things get better and then get worse again.
Yeah, it's a wave. Yeah, you fall and you get back up. It's a wave.
That's all I got.
That was beautiful. Laurie, thank you so much. I really had fun. I appreciate your time and energy. I learned a lot and I laughed a lot. So
good.
Fun is the key. Funky.
Where is my link to my wonderful book?
You'll see it. I'm going to send you the link to this very soon and you'll see it.
Okay, cool. And if you're in San Francisco, sign up for my workshop. Go to Letterform Archive. That's coming up.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you, Laurie.